Welcome to the Peapod, and just like the peas in a peapod, each human is here to have experiences that will contribute to the growth of all. Here at the Peapod, we will examine some of these experiences and glean the lessons learned, the truth uncovered, and come to a deeper understanding through our sharing. So grab your popcorn, get comfortable, maybe even a paper and pen, and get ready for an amazing time with your hostess, Terry Angel, a woman on a mission to bring change, especially in the arena of peace, into our world. And here she is.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Peapod. This is an incubator for love. It's a safe container where we can come in and talk and share from our hearts. And we're so happy that you decided to join us here, where we're all like-minded individuals. We're peas in a peapod. The topic today is peace. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "Every breath we take, every step we make can be filled with peace, joy, and serenity." I am so honored to welcome to the Peapod MarBeth Dunn, back with us again. I love having you on, MarBeth. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here always.
A new face to our followers is Alison Broinowski. I hope I said that right, Alison. Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so excited, ladies. I'm excited to bring the two of you together, but I'm excited for this conversation about peace, because I think right now, more than any time in history, we just really need this energy to come forth with peace and bringing it into our world. So I would just like to hear from the two of you, anything that you want to share, starting out with about your vision of peace and what that looks like, and how can we do this? How can we bring it further into the world and make peace an absolute reality all over our world?
Well, remember, the Course in Miracles tells us that to have peace, we must teach it. And in order to teach it, we must be it. We must embody it. And that way we learn it. So that's one of my favorites in the text of the Course in Miracles. And it's so true, because as we share peace with other people, we extend love and peace and blessings to others, we receive it. And that is just such a beautiful thing. So I know every day I extend love and peace as part of my meditation, and then throughout the day, to really create that sense of peace, even in the times when it appears to be very chaotic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Alison, I can't wait to hear from you and your vision for peace.
Well, it's a little different, although I completely understand where MarBeth is coming from. She's coming from inside herself and reaching everyone around her. What I'm doing, because in my working life I was an Australian diplomat, is I'm reaching out to governments rather than to individuals, although you have to do individuals to get there, certainly. But one of my colleagues and friends in Australia said, there's nothing more ridiculous than the saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. You know, that's a famous statement. He says, if you want peace, prepare for peace. And of course he's right. And what are our governments all doing? They're preparing for war again. In spite of years of evidence that it doesn't work, that not only does it doesn't work, but it's totally destructive and catastrophic and pointless and expensive and all of that. And it all ties together in the ruination of our climate and our planet and our economy and our societies. I mean, how can that be a good idea? So that's the kind of argument that I and my colleagues put to our politicians all the time. And we go and see them and we talk to them online and so on. And we try to get them and their political parties to change their approach to how we solve problems between nations. Instead of fighting over them, we invite them to consider the diplomatic solution, which is to talk about them, because sooner or later, after the war, you're going to have to talk anyway. So our advice to them is skip the war and have the talk.
It makes sense. Unfortunately, they make money from war. So there is a very great economic factor involved with that. I think most people would prefer to have peace and not have these huge weapons buildups in the country. Look, I have no idea how much the budget is, but I know it's humongous for weaponry.
It is humongous. And the other thing that even before we had the COVID outbreak, the president of the United Nations, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, spoke with Pope Francis, and the two of them made a joint statement, which you're probably familiar with, appealing to the world, this is pre-COVID, to end the sickness of war and fight the disease that is ravaging our world. And what he meant was, and he added, stop the fighting everywhere now. There is no point in spending huge amounts of money to try to cure a disease, when at the same time we're spending equal or much greater amounts of money to kill people. What is the point? And both of them were absolutely right. I mean, the logic is irrefutable, isn't it?
Totally. And I think also, though, the peace that begins within us, we extend that out. And I think that generates peace. And also we can work it on the spiritual level where I had a world peace experiment in 2000, 18, I think. And we focused on, we met over the internet, and we did 7 minutes a day to world peace, where we moved into the miracle zone, the zone of miracles and peace and love. And we directed, once we all consolidated our energy, our focus, elevated our frequency, and focused our focus we focused on the Middle East, because I knew that there were statistics, independent statistics, that could verify what was happening in our experiment, what was happening as we focused on peace. And during the period of our focus on the Middle East, the level of violence dropped well over 20%. And there have been a lot of other experiments, but mostly where people would do transcendental meditation in different parts of the world. They went to Israel, and the level of violence dropped in Lebanon during the Lebanese war, dropped dramatically while they were directing. They just sat in transcendental meditation. But what we did is we joined from all over the world and focused the love and peace on that section of the planet, and it affected it. So I think that's something that we don't need to feel that we are unable to do anything for to create greater peace on the planet. we all can do that by focusing love and peace. When I meditate, I imagination is very strong, that I'm holding planet Earth in my hands and I just encircle it with love and peace. And does that have an effect? I know it does. How much of an effect? I don't know. I can't quantify that.
In another such session, I wonder if you could concentrate your efforts on our leaders, the people who make decisions about war, rather than the victims of the war in their long-suffering countries.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Well, I think that's an excellent idea. I like that. We should do that.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
We can do that. We have the technology.
We totally do.
We have the people that want peace, and want to see it come into our world even more. So
I love that, Alison. I think that's brilliant.
My organization is called Australians for War Powers Reform, and you would know from your own experience how badly your country how much your country would like to reform the war powers, which are still sitting there since 1973 and haven't been changed. And in fact, as I understand it, your Congress votes more money for war every year than the president even asks for, throwing huge amounts of money that could be spent on social services and infrastructure at killing other people. Okay, so what we have been doing in my organization is trying to get a law passed, or rather trying to amend a law that we have that would mean, quite simply, that the government has to have a debate and a vote in both houses of parliament before it commits the troops to a war. That's what we're trying to get. And we have had a change of government last May to a party which is more favorably disposed to our ideas than its predecessors. And they set up an inquiry, which was held in December. We've been struggling to get the inquiry for years and years and years, and finally we got that. And now they're debating the submissions that were made. There are 111 submissions from various organizations and individuals across the country. And all but about 95 of them, 95 of them were in favor of reform. A very small number were not. And we find it, they're going to find it hard not to agree to the kind of thing that we're looking for, given that kind of community response. But wait for it, because in March they will report and we will see.
Okay. Well, that's next month.
That's right. We have time.
Yeah.
So we can all focus our energy on that, right?
Oh, please do. That would be great. Focus your energy, particularly in the direction of our politicians, if you will.
All of them. All of them.
Yes.
I know. It's like a 3-ring circus here in the US. But I know that source is all powerful, and that we've seen that when we focus on peace, things change.
Yes, they do.
If you want peace, prepare for peace.
Exactly. I think that's a wonderful idea. Well, I'm all in.
Yeah, I really think that we need to be serious and do it. I know I'm part of the committee that's trying to get some action moving with our own Department of Peace Building in the United States. And it's just like you're describing, Alison, it's just sitting there. It's like, why aren't we doing this already?
Because there's a lot of
resistance. A government department of peace building?
No, we have
I see.
To create.
You would like to have one.
Would love to have one. Yeah,
I see.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah. And also, have you looked at how many of your universities do peace studies as compared to the ones who do what's called national security studies and defense studies and stuff like that. Have you looked at the imbalance? I mean, in my country, it's absolutely gross. It really is completely disproportionate. Do you have that too?
I don't know, but we could research that, but
Have a
just
look.
talking about this, I've got chills. I don't know about you, Terry. I'm just like awakening here. I love it.
There are things that can be done.
Absolutely.
Just sit back and say, oh, I wish somebody would do something. We can do that. We can do that meditation and call in the greatest power that exists and create a change.
Absolutely.
Because what we do, all of our energy goes out into the big pool of all energies. So when we're raising the vibration, it does raise the frequency of the
planet. Absolutely. Everything that you're doing, from your Course in Miracles group to your books and your teachings, all of that is elevating.
Yeah.
So, and together, well, the power is exponential.
Yes.
Yeah. So, no order of difficulty.
One of the things I would do, see, I do it a different way from you, even though I'm starting from the same position. I would get onto Antonio Guterres at the UN and Pope Francis and remind them of what they said and say, it hasn't got any better since you made these very sensible and wise remarks. How about it's time to go out to all your constituents who are 192 countries in the world and remind them of this absolute folly, that there are countries in severe financial distress and can't afford to do decent things for their people. And yet we're wasting money on war. This is insane. This is real insanity. And worse than that, I mean, we used to have mutually assured destruction, right? Now we've got governments talking quite seriously, threatening each other with the use of nuclear weapons. I mean, in the past, that was something we were all shocked about, absolutely shocked. But we've been put to sleep in recent years about that.
Yeah. Very, very true. Thank you, for your brilliant insights.
I wish they were effective.
Like that idea. I know that the UN has something coming up next month. I've applied to come to it to be a part of the talks, and it is geared toward peace. So I'm hoping that will come to fruition, that I get to actually be.
Is that a UN thing, or is it organized by some affiliated organization?
No, it is UN. I don't have my email open right now, but I can get you that information afterward. I'll get it to both of you, because it's going to be, I believe, a week-long discussion, and they're involving youth in that as well. There's going to be special sessions just for youth representatives, which is really what we need to do. We need to start involving.
It is. I mean, we're the ones who've messed it up, and it's up to us to fix it, of course, but we need to hear from the young about how they want it fixed. And this is it's really important for their voices to be heard. I'm glad that that's happening, and I look forward to seeing the link, because maybe I can even get onto it remotely.
Yes, it will be remote and in person.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, in person, even better. I used to work at the UN and I loved being in New York.
Come on to New York, Alison.
I'd go back there tomorrow.
Maybe this will bring you back for at least for a week.
Oh, thank you. Right. Send me the tickets.
Yeah, I will. I'll send you that. I'll forward you that email so you'll have the link.
That will do.
Oh, so what I'm hearing is that it's so imperative for us to actually take action. And that action, I'm totally in agreement. It has to start inside. Everything starts inside. So the peace, we have to be it. We have to know it intimately. We have to know what we want. You know, a lot of people say they want peace, but what are they talking about? You know, have you ever asked that question to anybody? It's like, what do you mean you want peace on earth? What does that look like? So what does it
I
look
have
like?
to give up my divisiveness. I have to love everybody. Ooh.
What happens with us about that when we talk about reforming the war powers? Most of my members favor peace over war every time, but we're not sort of dyed in the wool peace people. Not all of us, some are, you know, but we keep that to ourselves. But when people come up with that, what do we do? The main thing that they worry about is, all right, you guys want peace. What happens when our country is attacked? Now, the United States was attacked by terrorists, but apart from that, it's very unlikely that the United States is going to be attacked in any meaningful way, which perhaps explains quite a few things. But our country is quite different. And there are people in Australia who are quite paranoid, have always been, about an attack from some Asian country. Or in the very early days, they were worried about Britain's allies, Russia and Germany, and even France at some times, attacking a British colony. You know, I mean, they were worried about that. And that worry has been handed down from generation to generation, where people are still paranoid about being attacked. And so there are many people in Australia who firmly believe that the American alliance, which is what will save us from being attacked. Now, that's a fairly pious hope, quite frankly. And in fact, we had a former prime minister who wrote that the greatest threat to Australia is the American alliance, because it makes Australia a potential target for enemies that are not ours, but happen to be America's. For instance, it could be China. I mean, we have no desire for a war with China.
No, we don't either.
Yeah, I know. And most of you do. I hope most of you do not. But that, nevertheless, is the case, that if there were to be a war between the US and China over, say, Taiwan or the South China Sea, the idea that Australia could be used as a proxy target in that war, in other words, the Chinese would attack American bases in Australia rather than attack America itself, and thereby pick off America's ally and make an example of us as to what could be done.
You can make a case for anything, though. I mean,
it's quite a serious thought.
We were attacked by Japan in World War II.
Hey, so were we.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
Some people think you invited it.
Maybe.
I won't go there. But yes, and that, of course, confirms in the minds of the Australians that I was just talking about, who rely on America to protect us, that Japan experience is absolutely foundational for them. They say, if the Americans hadn't saved us, we'd be cactus, by now. And so they are the ones who are supporting where we are now about China, which is a real worry.
Yeah,
because
China, yeah.
Because China is a different matter.
Yes. It's definitely a different matter. But again, we are powerful, and we can extend our peace. We can laser focus our peace on all of the world leaders, China as well.
I hope you can.
I know,
when
especially.
You said at the beginning of that, you said we are powerful, and I thought, oh my goodness, she means the United States. But I know you talk from the individual outwards, not the other way. And so I understand what you said. But there are people who do say it meaning what I first thought. That is, we are powerful. We intend to exert our power. We in turn intend not to have anybody else rival that power. And if they do, it'll be the worse for them. And that's the worry. That is the real worry. That's why you need to sort of direct your lasers to the people who think like that, who think we are powerful. Anyone who threatens our power is an enemy, and we're going to push them back into their own country so they can't do anything. Imagine China accepting that again after 200 years? No way.
No way.
And the fight over that would be existential. That's World War III, and that's the end of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Alison, for bringing out that point, because, I don't normally think about that, about other countries and how they see us being our nation. So you're right. That's something for us to focus on when we do the peace experiment, MarBeth, and focus our energy is to really work on that energy of fear, because, fear is a killer of dreams and it's a killer of peace. So, yeah, I think when we do the meditation, it's only love. Love is so much more powerful than fear.
Absolutely.
Can I suggest that if you follow up that idea, and I think it's a really good one, if you follow the idea of thinking about fear, remember that for 2 decades now, we have been at war on terror, right? The war on terror was declared by George W. Bush in 2001,
Right.
and it has never been undeclared.
Right.
Like many wars, it goes on and on and on forever, partly because what we were just saying about getting the money out of the Congress. If you can have a war that never ends, and war on terror never does, cannot. How can it? Because people are always scared of something. The way to keep it going and keep the money flowing, and you're right about the money, MarBeth, is to keep them scared.
Absolutely.
So you keep them scared all the time, and that's where your message about fear comes in, Terry. And if you can only get through to them that they are deliberately being made fearful by people whose interest it is to have them scared witless.
Absolutely.
Most of the time, it's amazing how if you've got them by the fear, their hearts and minds will follow.
Exactly.
And they will vote for anything that counters that fear. That's why the war on terror was so powerful. And that's also why you may have noticed they keep saying it hasn't ended. They keep saying, oh, now we've got cyber terrorism. Now we've got this, that, and the other new form of artificial intelligence terrorism, right-wing terrorism, etc. And on it goes. And there's terror everywhere, because terror generates fear, and fear generates votes, and votes generate money and power.
And that's absolutely true. And when we we don't want to fight, we don't want a war. If you are focusing on war, it just expands. That whole creation of a war, it just expands. So what we want to create peace. We want to focus on peace and not on war, because as we focus on peace, that's going to expand. And when that expands, then we're on our way.
When you read things published before 2001, one of my colleagues was looking through our archives, because we've been around for a long time. the other day, and she found some amazing stuff, decades old, in which the tone was so different from what we see nowadays. What we see commonly in the mainstream media, for instance, or in pronunciations of people in government. And they're always talking about the next war. And none of them is saying, we don't need it. And, you know, how in the world can we get out of this? I mean, people were so much more peaceful in their attitudes to each other a couple of decades ago. And the war on terror is what has done this.
It doesn't surprise me. After World War II, it was so horrendous. People wanted anything but war. There's no way they wanted more war. But now we've moved away, you know, that was, you know, what, 60, 80 years ago. And the other thing is that the media makes money by fear.
That's right. Oh, yes.
People will watch the media. We don't have the old Mike Wallace news. We have CNN and you know, and Fox. And what do they focus on? What's going to create more viewers so they can sell more products? And what is going to attract more viewers is fear.
Yeah.
You know, I have to watch that because they're going to talk about, you know, there we go.
I completely agree with you. And we're up against something very big there, because those media outlets that you mentioned are powerful creators of perception in the public mind. I mean, they actually condition people in their homes every day, every night.
Absolutely.
Because the drip feed of fear, as you say, goes into them and sits in their brain unchallenged unless they think the kind of thoughts that we think. And so they ingest this stuff and they look around for an enemy. Who's the enemy? I mean, like my little grandchildren used to say when we were watching news, who's the good guy, Granny? You know, just tell me who to hate.
I know.
And, you know, because they realize even at that age that it's a fight and you have to understand whose side are we on. So while that happens and you're suffering from all of those media outlets, imagine how it is in my country where Murdoch controls more than 70% of the print media.
Oh,
Can you imagine? Total control, plus more on television. And he and his family have been one of the greatest beaters of the drums of war, if you like, of anyone I can think of, for the obvious reason that you pointed out, which is
money.
War sells media. You know, if you're not just being entertained and mesmerized off your brain with some drivel, the other thing is you're being frightened. You know, you're being stirred up. You're being made angry. That's another thing, not only fear, but anger.
Oh, yeah.
And the Murdoch affiliated television commentators in this country, and indeed in the print as well, just constantly, day after day, generate anger against certain individuals and groups who don't measure up to their expectations. So you can imagine.
Well, they have an agenda. They definitely have an agenda.
Sure have. Yeah.
It's power and control.
And it's
That's
the
right.
separation. You know, if you can divide, you can conquer, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what's been happening, you know, and unfortunately we see it on social media. You know, we see it everywhere. You know, there's cyberbullying, there's all kinds of things that are happening that are just generating greater fear. People are,
That's right.
afraid not
Actually,
to be perfect.
Can I just for a moment contradict myself. I was waiting for you to point it out, but perhaps you didn't realize that we did have, as I said, an election in this country last May, and the Conservative government that had been there for a long time got thrown out. Now, that was over in the face of the Murdoch media, including social media and all of that, and television. The Murdoch media fully endorsed the Conservative coalition, and the people rejected it. So this gave us a certain amount of hope, because it was clear that people were not conned completely into following that sort of line.
Mhm.
And they had different ideas from what they were being told every day by Rupert Murdoch's son. Rupert Murdoch, by the way, is an American. He changed his citizenship in order to be able to buy the Washington Post.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he had to be an American to do that. You don't have, well, and so his son, Lachlan, owns all these
Right.
outlets in Australia, and he remains an Australian. But I have to say, the two of them would fit as agents of foreign influence if you wanted to apply the law quite rigorously, because that's exactly what they do. They exert American influence in this country in a very big way, or they try to.
Mhm.
I'm not going to get you sued, am I, maybe, Terry?
No, we do have freedom of speech.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah, we think we have, but we haven't.
They haven't taken that away yet.
They might
Not
take you
yet.
down.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not being able to say what we want to say. Yeah,
We're
those
getting
things
away
that we
with
do
it
value.
for now. For now, we're getting away with it. They haven't come around in the middle of the night yet.
But they are taking away books from children in schools here,
Apparently, not here, thank God.
and
Maybe they weren't.
terrorizing the teachers. It's like $5,000 fine, 5 years in jail, and I think as a felony if any of the books that are not desired to be in the classroom are there. So the all the shelves, the bookshelves are bare in the children's classrooms, or they're
What
covered
sort of
up.
books? Wait, can you name some books?
Well, here in Florida is where a lot of this is happening. Our governor has got political aspirations, and
Yes.
he's courting Trump's base. And so, and he, his motto is that Florida is where woke goes to die. So he doesn't want anything. I don't know what the books have been really. Maybe they're about gender identity. And, I don't know if that's really an appropriate subject for young children in the classroom personally, but there are a lot of books that they're encouraging parents to basically police the classrooms. It's turned into a very weird place here.
Yeah.
And, and it's just two extremes, because most of the people in the middle do not want either extreme, but we have two extremes battling it out. It's crazy.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, in that direction lies fascism.
I know.
When they start banning books,
I know.
then you're on the way.
I know. Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of things happening here, but we're going to focus on peace. We're not going to focus on those things. We're going to focus on what we can do, what our superpower is.
That's right.
Do you
Because the fear
have-
comes in when you don't think you can control something. And so then you go to the fear base. But if we keep in the love base and know that we do have power, like you said, MarBeth.
Absolutely.
We are very powerful, and we're creators, we're manifestors. So yeah, we do have options.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alison, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Not at all. Do you have any idea who among the Democrats might succeed President Biden? Because
I have not been following.
Well, I think some of your focus needs to be shone upon such people, because they're going to have a really important role in the future.
Very, very true.
To rival your governor in Florida and others, because I can't imagine really that Trump is going to be a successful candidate next time.
Well, the Koch brothers have turned against him, so I don't think so.
It looks like that.
And yeah.
So perhaps on both sides, we need a bit of peace conditioning. Look, my sister-in-law, I wasn't going to say this, but because you might know already, but my sister-in-law is Helen Caldicott, who used to be a big-time anti-nuclear campaigner in the United States. And she now lives in Australia. But when she was living in the United States and practicing medicine, she went to see Ronald Reagan and talked to him about banning the bomb. And she and others managed to convince him that nuclear weapons were a bad idea. And, this is the kind of thing that if you can exert your positive energy, can have quite momentous consequences. It held off that sort of thing in the United States for quite a long time. Doesn't mean that they go away and die. They always come back.
Yeah, they do.
Like the tobacco lobby, there'll always be people coming back trying to flog nuclear power and nuclear weapons and cigarettes or vapes or whatever. They
Did she freeze?
She did freeze. We'll give her a minute, hopefully.
Yeah, I'd love to hear this thought.
I know.
Yeah,
I know,
so much
but this
powerful,
is
really
really
stuff coming out today. And anytime I hold these discussions, I don't know what's going to happen.
This is powerful.
You froze on us for a minute, honey.
My connection, it just said, was unstable. I don't know what that means. If I drop out, goodbye to you both.
You froze up, so we didn't hear that last thought that you had that you were sharing with us.
Did I finish talking about my sister-in-law?
No, that's what we were listening to.
I wondered why you both froze. Okay. What I was going to say was my sister-in-law, I wasn't intending to mention her, is Helen Caldicott, who used to be a big-time anti-nuke campaigner in the United States. And when she was practicing medicine in Boston, she got involved with anti-nuclear organizations, and she went and saw Ronald Reagan and actually talked to him, one-on-one about the existential dangers of such things, and persuaded him that this was very important. And he raised it at subsequent meetings with the Russians, for instance, and the world was held off the track that it was going down, at least for a few decades. But what I also said was, they come back, just like the cigarette lobby, They go off, they regroup, they come back and fight it again. And what's happening now, both as I understand it in the United States, but certainly here, there are people who are saying, all of this is all right now. We just use, quote, low yield nuclear weapons and all this sort of rubbish.
What could possibly go wrong?
Right. That's right. And now it's okay when it wasn't before. And that sort of stuff is where we need renewed pressure on the people who make these decisions, our politicians. Yeah. And we can't let them get away with that sort of propaganda, which is what it is.
Yeah.
And when in Ukraine people start talking loosely about a nuclear attack, I really shudder, because who in the world is going to destroy the planet over a fight over Ukraine or over Crimea? I mean, it's just absolutely senseless.
It is.
Oh, ladies, this has
Yes.
been an amazing talk. I was saying to MarBeth while you were frozen, Alison, that I never know what's going to come out when we open up the show and have these discussions. But this
I think they froze me.
Yeah.
I think they did.
Yeah, this discussion is one that we need to have many of these discussions.
Yeah.
What can we do? And we can always start inside, and we can always send our energy out to change the energy of the planet.
Absolutely.
But there's also action steps that we can take. And I'm affiliated with the Peace Alliance, and all the things that they are doing to try to bring more awareness to action, to what people can do to get involved, contacting our representatives, saying we want peace, we want this Department of Peace building up and running and more powerful than the Department of War. We need to have that balance in there, because it's so imbalanced. And
People hear that.
The war is going to bring in money, and the peace isn't. So it is an uphill battle, but
it isn't even that. It's that, people are so afraid of China right now, those weather balloons, whatever they are, if they're spy balloons, we don't know. But Congress is in an uproar about that.
I know. Well, they did shoot it down,
I know. And is that an act of war to shoot down China's balloon? I mean,
if it's over your own territory, no, it's not.
Right. It's in our territory.
Yeah. No, but the fact that China is sensitive over the United States, is that an act? That's what
they
Congress
did.
Is upset about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I understand that the Speaker of the House is about to visit Taiwan again, the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to keep the provocation going.
Mm-hmm.
But they want it. They really want a war, these guys.
And I think you're right.
We have seen 3 American generals in recent weeks predicting 3 different predictions about when that war is going to start. One guy says in 2 years, one in 3, one in 5.
Mm.
This is to soften us up, to get used to it, to get ready for it, to know that it's going to happen. And things like the balloon, well, there, you see, they're our enemy. And if the Chinese account is correct, I have no way of knowing, but if the Chinese account is correct, it was a weather balloon that flew off course. And if that's
which
true,
may or may not be true, we just don't know.
I don't know if it's true or not. But as you know, in war, truth is the first casualty.
Yeah. Okay, we have our assignments.
We do have our assignments. Oh my gosh, I have so loved this today. I think we need 2 hours instead of 1 for this kind of show. But I just want to take a minute and just let each of you have a closing thought, if you would, about peace, and just give encouragement. I think is what we're all looking for. Is there hope? And yes, I believe there is hope. But also, if you would, let people know how to reach out to you and how to find you. I did put both of your bios in the description so people can see it there, that if there's something that you've got going on, and just let us know how we can have more of you, ladies.
Okay, well, I'm MarBeth Dunn. I actually have a wonderful book, a little ebook, which is 7 Easy Steps to Harness the Power of Miracles at yourmiraclepower.com. It's absolutely free. And then you can get on my list and learn about all the cool things we're going to be doing for peace. And an upcoming show that I'm going to be doing. Let's see, my final thoughts on peace. Thoughts on peace are ongoing because we're evolving. But if we can focus just 7 minutes a day and just move into that heart place, and from there extend peace to the world, to all of our brothers and sisters, and to especially the world leaders. Just extend love and peace to them. And I totally believe that miracles can happen.
Well, thank you. Alison.
Okay. I'm Alison Broinowski, and I'm the president of an organization in Australia called Australians for War Powers Reform. And you can find our website at www.warpowersreform.org.au and see what we do. We have publications there. We have all sorts of activities. We've got a campaign going on, which I mentioned earlier. I'm also a board member of a body called World Beyond War, which you may know about because it was founded in the United States. And it has members all over the world who are united in the search for dealings between countries that do not involve war. And one of the great things about the World Beyond War website is they've got this terrific map that first attracted me to them, I must say, of where all the bases are. And if you want to blow your mind, have a look at their world map of bases and you realize what's going on. They're thick across the United States, Europe, and the Middle East. They're thick in a big ring around Russia and China. And the whole objective is to encircle those two countries and squeeze them and put a noose around them in the way that I described earlier. And I know from my working experience that putting a noose around a country is more likely to have it break out violently than sit there and put up with it. And so what we need to do is radically change the way we approach other countries. And my suggestion is that instead of approaching other countries with threat and use of force, we follow Article 1 of the UN Charter, which says that we will not do that. We're all signed up for it. China is abiding by it, give or take a bit in Vietnam in 1979, give or take a few odd skirmishes with India. They are not invading or attacking other countries. Taiwan is part of China. And there you are. So let's make sure that we and our allies stick by our commitments and do what we say. Watch what we do and do what we say.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Watch what we do and do what we say. Follow through. Consistency. Yeah.
That's right.
And alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Authenticity, being true to your word.
Absolutely. Oh, ladies, this has been a blessing to have you both on here. I'm so glad I got to connect the two of you and to introduce you to our followers. Alison, welcome. You're a part of us now. You're a P in the Peapod.
Thank you.
So happy to have you there. So to all of you watching online, I see your beautiful comments. Thank you for being with us today. And I know we're going to have many more discussions throughout this year about peace, and just keep thinking, what can I do? You know, I used to think along the line of, I'm only one person. What does it matter? what does it matter if I'm grumpy or angry, or if I'm spitting out this kind of energy? It's just me, right? And then I realized through study and research that it's not just about me, that everything that I think, that I say, that I do affects other people. And that's what we can all keep in mind. Every word we say, every good or bad thought we send out, it affects our whole planet. So be conscientious of your words and get up off the sofa and take an action step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one single step. So we can all take one step toward peace. Just figure out what that looks like for you. Each person has to deal with that individually. So thank you again for being here. I'll be back next week. Next week is Valentine's Day, and we're going to talk about love. I'm so excited to have that show as well. So I hope you'll tune into that. Have a blessed rest of your day or night, wherever you may be. And I send you out blessings of love and light. Thank you again, MarBeth, Alison. I love you dearly.
Thank
And
you,
I will
Terry.
see you all later. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Best wishes.